Hello, this is Glenn from SimAbility, and I want to give everybody an update on a new product that we're working on. This is a development product this time, kind of a proof of concept. I'm going to go over what it is, what it's used for, and why somebody may choose this over a GT ring system or the paddle system. The new product right now is sitting on a TS-PC rim, but it's really intended for a Fanatec, direct drive, all of the Thrustmaster products where the wheel is removable. So let me go ahead and I'll get you some detail on the new product. So let me start by going over our GT ring system. If you're not familiar with it, we've got a ring, 360-degree ring. We can pull for gas or brake, and then a push ring on the front. Very nice setup. The paddles are good. This allows you full functionality of the wheel no matter what degree of rotation you're in. Very nice product. Problem with it is it's very complicated. We've got two swinging mechanisms we have to maintain, stoppers, springs, the adjusters. Also too, this product has a cord, so you are tied to a cord on it. The cord makes this product unpractical for the newer TS-PC, the newer Thrustmaster products. The problem with those is when you mount this wheel to one of those products, they spin so fast when they calibrate, the cord will fly around and the cord will most likely break on these products. So right now the GT ring system is limited to the Thrustmaster T300 and TX. Great product, but it is complex. And so what we're trying to do here with our new product is find something that's kind of in the middle between paddles and the ring system. And that will be have the option of wireless connectivity through Bluetooth, and it will also have a load cell. Now we may very well come out with a load cell solution for the ring system, but right now we're focusing on the new, we're calling it a hybrid system. So let me go ahead and let me get that in front of us here. So as far as cutting the cord, we are actually limiting ourselves to PC support. So the Bluetooth functionality that I'm talking about here will be PC only, though we still will make some products that use the cord, such as the T300, the TX, probably a Fanatec product in the future, so that our console gamers, they'll still have a product that works for them. But I'm primarily talking right now about the Bluetooth and the functionality for PC gaming. This particular, in fact, we've been experimenting with it on a ring system. My son uses this. It's not very pretty, but this is a blue HID controller we've adapted to an existing ring system so that we can go wireless. We had to do this because we got one of the early TS-PCs for him, and we immediately found that it spins way too fast during calibration for a cord. So we went ahead and we started experimenting with Bluetooth. This particular unit uses a blue HID or blue HID unit. At the time, that was pretty much all that was available. Now there also is a Derek Spears product. I have it, I bought it, but I have not actually experimented with it yet. So everything I have here is working off the blue HID controller. We may make the Derek Spears available in the future. So with the, so anyways, that covers cutting the cord. So now I'm going to go into why we would use what we use here. So why go away from the ring system? The primary reason for going away from the ring system is to save cost and focus on the areas that are most important. So first thing you think about is how do you drive? When we brake in a straight line. We don't generally brake when we're turning at the same time. We may touch the brake a little bit. When you do all your hard, serious braking is in a straight line. So you really only need one hand for the brake. Now when you accelerate, a lot of times if you're in a hairpin, a really tight hairpin, you have to operate that throttle with many different degrees of rotation. So what we're doing now with this hybrid system, we have a single brake paddle that operates on a lever. Instead of a complex mechanism, we just have a simple brake lever, our paddle, for the brake, and we've limited our complex unit, the ring unit, to the throttle. So we can have the ring throttle and a simple paddle for the brake. Also, going with a single lever paddle for the brake makes the load cell a little more practical. Putting a load cell on a ring system where you have a lot of moving parts, it means that everything needs to be strengthened and beefed up, and that increases the weight and the cost. So that is the primary reason we're looking at the hybrid system. So let me go ahead and take this apart and go into a little more detail. One thing I want to reiterate is this is a development product. Some of the materials on here are not, they're not what they're going to be in production. Right now we have a plastic front plate and a plastic end plate. It's actually a high density plastic. The final product may be Delron, it may be aluminum, I'm not sure. You also notice we have a mixture of carbon fiber and aluminum on here. We got a piece of scrap aluminum for one of the end plates. Anyways, this is development, so some of the things you see on here may not be finished, and the final product will look different. So one of the first things I want to go over is the fact that it's square, it's modular. So compared to our ring system, we have this nice aluminum can, nice and round. It looks great, but it makes it less adaptable to different types of wheels. So once one of these is built, it's very difficult to adapt this to other types of wheels. For the new product, I've tried to make it as modular as possible. So I can take and put a different front plate or a different back plate on here. So right now I've got an adapter for a Thrustmaster wheel. I could very easily put in a plate in here for a standard 5-bolt or standard pattern for an aftermarket wheel. I can make an adapter for a Fanatec wheel or any other kind of wheel. Same with the back side. Right now I've got a plate that attaches the Thrustmaster quick release on it. I can make a different plate to attach to different wheels. So that's the reason that's one of the biggest things we've changed on this, is it's square and modular. And then all the electronics go inside. And also too, I don't want to use any custom electronics. Everything that's inside of this wheel is aftermarket. So we may make this available in a DIY kit. You can buy your own controller if you want a Bluehead or a Derek Spears Bluetooth controller. You can buy that. You can choose. You can change down the road. I want this to be as adaptable as possible. Also too, it operates off of a battery. The battery, if you can see it, it is inside there. We're actually using a 2500 milliamp battery. It's probably overkill. We have never been able to run it down. I don't know what the battery life is yet, but we go a month or 2 months without charging the wheel and it has never run dead. So right now at 2500 milliamps we're a little overkill, but it fits. We have room for it, so we're going with the large battery for now. As far as the throttle mechanism, we're using the same Hall effect technology that we've used before. If you can see it, we've got a sensor in here that operates a magnet and a Hall effect sensor. That technology is the same. It works, so we're not changing it. And as far as the travel for the ring, we're going with these blocks here. You can change these blocks to go with less or more travel. Everything we make, we try to put in much adjustability in it as we can. You can see the ring can be moved in and out. Also too, the rings can be changed. So this one again is for a TS-PC wheel, which is more of a true GT or Formula One type wheel. If you have a round wheel, then you'll just put a round ring on. And in fact, I've got another ring here. You'll notice on the left side, it's longer. So most of our customers, I estimate, are using paddle shift. So what I've done with this one is I've left the paddle shifter exposed so it's easier to shift. Now my son uses an H pattern quite a bit, and so he likes the extra material on the ring so that he can manage the throttle while he's reaching over and shifting. Again, we want to make it versatile, so if you have a round wheel, if you don't want a full ring or you want more ring, we can build that for you and put it on. Okay, to recap, there's two technologies, primary technologies we're looking at in this new product. One is the Bluetooth wireless connectivity, the other one is the load cell. I'm going to get to the load cell in just a little bit, Before I go too much farther though, the load cell technology will work on a regular corded setup like a T300 TX type wheel. So it doesn't have to be Bluetooth to have the load cell technology. But let me finish up on the Bluetooth. So like I mentioned, I'm using a blue HID on this unit. There are other options. Now to get the power to the load cell and the Bluetooth controller, I'm using, I may have to put it on the screen, it's a Power Booster 500 I think it is. What this does is this is a battery charger, and it also takes the 3.7 volts from the battery and it converts it up to 5 volts because the load cell sensors and the load cell circuits all require 5 volts. Maybe a custom circuit we could do it off 3.7 volts, but the standard thing you get from Bodner or DSD is going to be a 5 volt controller for the load cell. To keep that standard, we're actually taking our 3.7 volts from the battery, we're bumping it up to 5 volts, and that unit also provides it's also a charger. So when you want to charge your wheel, you just plug the USB cable in, a little mini USB, you plug it in, it charges. And in this particular unit, I do have a hole in here so we can see the light when we turn it on and off. Right now, I just have a regular toggle switch on here. We may put some type of a switch that's better protected so you don't hit it by accident while you're driving. Anyways, so we're taking our battery, we're setting that to a unit that converts it to 5 volts, and then we can send that to our Blue HID controller, which also I believe uses 5 volts. I could be wrong. I may be a little wrong on the wiring there, but anyways, the important thing is the load cell does operate off 5 volts, and that's how we get our 5 volts. So let me go ahead and pull this off here, and we're going to take from here on out, we're going to take a closer look at the load cell functionality. Okay, so I've tried to open this up. We've got a lot of stuff here. It looks kind of spooky. It's not that bad. Here again is our Blue HID controller. If we look up in here, we can see our Power Boost 500, and then down in here, some of this wire is the Thrustmaster wire as well. But down in here is our this load cell controller is the Derek Spears controller. I've also tried with the Bodner controller. I like the Derek Spears controller because it comes with an adjustable gain. So if anybody is wondering what that knob is, that's an adjustable gain knob. So if I want if I want it to require more pressure, I will turn it up, and it requires a lot of grip to get full brake. Or if I need less pressure, I can do that. For the SimAbility products, I really try to design a lot of adjustability into everything because there's a wide range of capabilities or abilities. Somebody with cerebral palsy is completely different from somebody with a spinal cord injury. So we try to accommodate everybody. So that's right now it looks like we'll probably be using the Derek Spears controller with the adjustable gain. The mechanical mechanism, that really has been the hardest thing about the load cell functionality. I tried a lot of things with a plunger type mechanisms, a lot of things. What I ended up with is a system here that uses a free arm. This arm, everything pivots on this single shaft. This arm itself, if you can see that, is separate from this arm. This arm is free to pivot any direction it wants. And now the load cell is actually, it's a TE connectivity load cell that we use, a little miniature load cell right in there. This free arm operates against that TE connectivity load cell. Now we have a couple different elastomers or rubber bumpers that are replaceable. You can pull this white piece off that will probably be black in the future. I'm not sure what material it will be made out of. But we have a rubber here and a rubber here. If I can demonstrate, the rubber, this smaller rubber right here is like an assistant for the load cell. By putting a stiffer rubber in here, you're making the load cell do less work. So essentially a stiffer rubber here means you have to squeeze harder in order to press on the load cell. If we took this rubber out, you'd be operating 100% on the load cell, and that's generally a little too much for the load cell to handle. You just a little bit of pressure and you've got full brake. So you can, it's kind of like a coarse adjustment of your load cell. We've got the electronic Derek Spears type potentiometer, and then we've got a, we can change the rubber, the durometer meter rating of that rubber out. Now the other part, this fatter one, is kind of the, what I call the squish factor. So it doesn't do anything except let the whole unit kind of flex and squish a little bit like a hydraulic brake. And also too, we've got a spring in here. All that does is it gives you some free play. So I've got a little bit of slack in there, so I know that I'm 100% off of the brake, and I just have a good feeling of when I'm just starting to get onto the load cell. That's quite a bit of free play in there, but that'll also be adjustable. So it's really, we got a spring, a couple rubbers. There's actually a rubber under this, in this here too, where it touches the load cell. That's just to help keep everything lined up. But going with this floating arm mechanism, the action that I get from the load cell has been incredible. It's super smooth. It's really exceeded expectations. Alright, so hopefully I've demonstrated well enough how the load cell mechanism works. And also you can see it's relatively simple compared to the ring system, where we have a floating plate and an entire ring. This makes it sturdier, easy to manufacture, and less expensive. Another thing too, on any SimAbility products, we make everything adjustable, so the paddle, the brake paddle, can be moved in and out, and there is some adjustability here. I'll probably put more on the production unit. The paddle itself can be moved, and if you want a different size paddle, we can make different size paddles as well. So I mentioned that the brake rubbers can be changed, so I can demonstrate that quickly here. Again, this is a prototype, so the final product may be different. Also too, I believe what you're looking at is built out of scrap plastic. So take that into account. All I have to do is remove this one screw. And once I do that, I can pull this unit out. And so once I have that out off the end of the rod, the lever I should say, I can actually replace these. I can put different tensions in. This is a relatively soft one. So that is our squish factor bumper. So by going softer on that, the paddle just travels a little bit farther, has a little bit more of a squishy feel to it. If you don't like that squishy feel, you can go with a harder rubber there, and it's more positive effect. Now this is our helper rubber. We can pull that out, and if we put a stiffer rubber in that, then we have to squeeze harder in order to operate the load cell. If we take this out completely or put a softer one in, we can operate the load cell with a fairly light amount of pressure. And then to put that back in, we just have to hold our lever down, put it back in the right way. There we go. And then just put our screw back on, reattach our wire, and we're set up. Okay, and so just to wrap things up, you can see I put the wheel back together. You may have noticed there's an empty place here where the Thrustmaster emblem used to go. We took that out. We're actually planning on putting encoders or buttons there, as well as a clutch. We can add a third access just for starts and things like that. Just a simple lever for a clutch. The reason we can do that is because these Bluetooth controllers, they allow additional buttons, encoders, accesses, so we can add a clutch access on the wheel easily. It's just a matter of building the mechanism. And what I have in mind is a simple lever that could be moved either on the right side or on the left side. You can move it either way. Again, everything I try to make adjustable. and then just a couple extra buttons or encoders in the empty space. You could even, if you had a stock wheel or any type of wheel, you could make a button plate with additional buttons. A lot of things you can do with these controller boards, the Blue Head and the Derek Spears. Just allows for a lot of creativity. Another thing I want to go over one more time, with the load cell versus a potentiometer or motion type of brake. So there's the type of brake, typical type of brake is you vary your brake pressure by how far you move the paddle or the pedal, whichever you have. With the load cell, it's pressure based. So it doesn't move very far. The more pressure you give it, the more braking you get. If you've not used a load cell adaptation before, it has a really good feel. And this blew me away when I got it working right. You can really modulate the brake. You've got a lot of brake control. Also, the paddle shifting. Downshifting with a load cell is much easier than something that is distance-based, like a potentiometer Hall effect type of braking system. So that's a big advantage of the load cell. That modulation and feel that you get on the brake, I really like it. You can see I put my son's ring back on here that has the extended piece. He can drive one-handed. He can use this hand on a shifter or whatever, and he can throttle with his finger and control the brake with his other fingers. Personally, I don't like it. If I did this, I would probably go with a smaller paddle shift or something like that. But again, it just demonstrates the versatility. So the ring that I like is cut off here, so I have free rein to get to the downshift paddle. Also, the throttle, you may be wondering, why don't I make an area for that? You don't really need it, because when you're on the most cars, you're going to upshift while you're at full throttle. There are some that you need to lift to upshift with. In that case, I would probably either move the paddle forward or probably out farther so that I could reach it. But in general, when you're paddle shifting, you're full throttle and paddle shifting. It's exposed at full throttle. You could also put the paddle shifts on buttons. Some people swap them around. Anyways, that's it. This product, again, I'm hoping to have something very similar, if not almost identical to this, in 2019. I'm finishing up the build of ring systems, and I do have some more paddles to make. But hopefully sometime in 2019 this will be available. In what forms, I'm not quite sure yet. We'll definitely be doing the wireless Bluetooth. We'll probably be putting a lot of this technology on wired units as well, for because I always keep the console users in mind. I don't want to leave them out. And so we'll see what we have in 2019. Thank you for watching.